Hola, mi nombre es Esther Morales, soy oaxaqueña. Me deportaron en septiembre del 2010, definitivamente después de 9 deportaciones. Fue la última, la cual decidí quedarme en Tijuana, donde actualmente radico y vivo y tengo un pequeño negocio y me dedico al activismo. Emigrar en este tiempo de pandemia es de valientes, ¿no? Porque estás en la lucha diaria, peligrando tu vida, peligrando tu persona, todo. Es de valientes. Entonces, mis visitas a albergues, lo que yo hago es llegar con buen humor, olvidarme un poco de lo que estamos viviendo, llevar un plato de comida caliente, servirles, que se sientan que le están sirviendo. O sea, es para que pasen un rato, se olviden de la situación que están viviendo y que estamos viviendo todo mundo. Ese es el motivo que yo llego con buen humor, hago bromas, saludo, trato de convivir con ellos porque yo estuve en un albergue, soy migrante y yo creo que yo conozco sus necesidades y su sentir de cada uno de ellos. Es esa la razón que yo hago todo lo que hago.
Food is more than a substance that nurtures the body. As Indigenous Oaxacan migrant chef, Doña Esther Morales Guzmán taught me, food is the source of our political positioning in this world, our relations with the land, and with each other. Knowing that food is political is to know that it is anchored in migrant struggle, and no one asserts this more than Doña Esther. This summer, I spent mornings and afternoons in the bustling and chaotic border city of Tijuana with Doña Esther and a few other integral members of her mutual aid project Comida Calientita, or hot food. Those members being Lupita and her son Ángel and Ernesto Sarco Ortiz. Doña Esther began Comida Calientita in 2020, mid-pandemic Tijuana, after her business and life source, which was her tamaleria, called La Antiguita, was struggling to maintain itself. With the unused masa for tamales, bags of beans, and bottles of water that stocked the counters of her business, Doña Esther saw the survival of her tamaleria not contingent upon it as necessarily a business, but rather as contingent upon the very fact that food is not just a commodity, but a means of giving life and sustaining life and the ground upon which we live. Since 2020, Doña Esther has sustained her project by local donations, skillfully turning $100 in donations into 100 plates of food for migrants around Tijuana. My 2021 Mellon project, Storytelling Through Food, Migrant Narratives from Tijuana's food sites during pandemic times, does not necessarily emerge from Doña Esther and Comida Calientita. Rather, it is a continuation of Doña Esther's direct action, and it is also an exploration of where such direct action of nurturing leads. So mid-pandemic, Tijuana, July, August, September of 2021. This summer, we served hundreds of tamales and platters of beans to migrants across Tijuana, whether in shelters, whether on the streets, or in front of clinics, or in crisis centers. As an expected part of our mutual aid and direct action, as opposed to institutional-based aid, as we served food to and with migrants, networks of solidarity materialized. On the streets, outside a clinic for migrants, a group of Central American youths came up to us, saying, "Hey, Doña Tamale woman, you give out food, and so do we. Let's meet here on Thursday, and we can do so together." These youths are part of Contra Viento y Marea, or Against Wind and Tide, which is an autonomous mutual aid group collectively organized by Central American youth in Tijuana. Without institutional restraints, our collaboration emerged from a mutual understanding that even among precarity and scarcity, we nurture each other. This politics nurtured other relations with migrants this summer. We visited an LGBTQIA+ migrant shelter And the first time the shelter was wary of the unfulfilled promises of meals from organizations. So when we arrived a week later with hot lunch that was not necessarily contingent upon an extraction of migrant suffering or an exchange necessarily, there was a release of tension because we were here to eat. While we ate together, 2 Jamaican migrants related their migrant experience through the meal in front of us. Corn tamales are not eaten in Jamaica, as with beans. And yes, they miss their food in Jamaica, but otherwise, Jamaica wasn't unlivable for them as LGBT asylum seekers. These visceral, affective responses turned into sites of relating through difference. After these meals, some migrants asked us to record their stories. Food provoked feelings, emotions, memories, and storytelling. A few reflections. This summer, I was reminded that mutual aid is ungovernable. In my original Mellon Project description, I proposed to spend my summer in Tijuana, digitally mapping these sites that we visited for migrants and condensing this information into an online archive. Other than making a social media page and some fundraisers for Comida Calientita, I actually largely spent my summer lugging hot pots of tamales, reaching into a 20-pound jug to serve fresh melon juice, and distributing hundreds of donated bottles of water to migrants. Although less perhaps visible and perhaps less glorifiable than the published digitized map that I originally proposed for my project, the direct action of serving food that in large part was my project this summer attests to the self-determination and organization of the migrant community in Tijuana. They decided what was most needed in the material present. The ability for my project to change in scope, to change its trajectory, speaks to the importance of programs like the Mellon Public Scholar Program, and especially for projects that refuse to be governed by the state and its colonial institutions. As Dean Spade asserts in Solidarity Not Charity, quote, "Mutual aid is a form of political participation in which people take responsibility for caring for one another and changing political conditions, not just through symbolic acts or putting pressure on their representatives in government, but by actually building new social relations that are more survivable. There's nothing new about mutual aid. People have worked together to survive for all of human history." End quote. There's nothing new about the actions carried out in my Mellon project this summer, but it is the survival of these actions that are to nurture and to feed that do give ways to new social relations that, as Spade says, are more survivable. If you're interested in donating to Comida Calientita, you can visit our Instagram at Comida Calientita, where you can find links to Venmo and updates about the project. Thanks.